All right, all right. Welcome. This is going to be our first ever episode, and we're thrilled to finally be able to pull this off and
Hmm.
bring into our followers and everybody who's been with us for a while a podcast from Criolish. I'm Sweli Nash. I'm the co-founder and president of Criolish, and today I have the founder and CEO Edmar Gonçalves. And the most important part about all of this and starting this podcast today is that one, we want to give everybody the backstory of how Criolish started, which was back in 2019, and there's a whole thing behind it. It's a very interesting story, so we wanted to make sure we share that with everybody, but also to talk about the whole concept of how it came about, where we at now, and where we see ourselves. So, without any further ado, I'll give this to Edmar to do a quick introduction, and then we'll go from there. Edmar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting this together. Like you said, it's been a long time coming, so here we are. By the way, it's CEO, not CAO, but it's cool.
I
I know
said
what you were trying to
CAO.
say.
Oh my
That's
god.
what you said.
That's the
Okay.
dyslexia in me, and my boss says that I'm self-diagnosed. I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure
I
there's a
just
hint
need, I
of
just
that in
needed
there.
to I just needed to correct that real quick, just so people understand that at least we get our titles right. At least out of
At the
everything,
very
that's
least,
yes, that's
that
that's
works.
something we'll get right.
That
Yeah,
works.
no, no, this is exciting. This is really cool. First episode. I think that we will come up with a different name at some point. A cooler name for the podcast. But we'll see.
That
Maybe we
Creolish
should
is
leave it up
cool.
to the public. Yeah, Creole is just cool, but maybe we
But
can
yeah, maybe
open
maybe,
it up to
maybe
the
the
public and
public
let them say something, say a little something.
at
Let them
at
have a
some
say.
point.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Cool.
But a very important thing is obviously we have a whole team behind Criolish. So to our listeners, you're not gonna be hearing just from Edmar and I. You will get an opportunity to hear from all the other members of the team, which is very important for us because a lot of folks are putting in a lot of good work.
Hmm.
And that's important for everybody to hear the stories from other folks. So at least you won't get tired of me messing up the CEO's title and hearing our voices. So
We have much longer titles
yes,
here, so if you can't get three
I,
letters right,
I'm
you got
saying,
something
I'm
else coming.
saying.
Nice, nice.
So yeah, it's important. Like they always say, start from the beginning. What was the clear thought or experience that you had to realize that Criolish was something that needed to exist?
Yeah, so it actually started when it actually started right after an experience that I had while going through the Creole to English dictionary from Manuel Gonçalves, the folks over at Mili Mila. And so it's interesting because that dictionary, at least that first launch, which I think was back in 15, I believe. Yeah, while I was going through it, uh, because it's focused on the Fogu variant, I was going through it and I'm learning all these words, and every now and again I run into these words that make me go, oh wow, it's interesting that you say that in this way in the Fogu variant, because here's how we say it in Sal. So it was like all of a sudden I'm having a bit of uh, sort of like a back and forth with this dictionary. Because as my curiosity grew about what other differences there are between my variant, which is the Sal variant, and the variant from Fogo, the more it started dawning on me how cool it would be to create a space online where people could come in and share about their variants, right? So like it just started coming together for me. An online platform, people would log in and just share words and proverbs, oral traditions from their respective islands and respective variants, and then just have that be an open platform to the internet. So that's how it started. That's how it started. And as you may remember, we launched with the Creolish was just a dictionary of expressions, but now has grown to much more. And now, as time has gone on, right, we have realized that the stakes are much higher than just having an online space where people can share their expressions, right?
Yeah, and I think, and for me, the important part about this story, because I think I've mentioned to you before that storytelling, I'm big on storytelling, and it's important for people to understand how ideas come from or why people get involved and who got involved. And I think it would be interesting for people to know why and how on earth did you think of me to call me to jump in as a co-founder? Because real quick, so that people know how you and I met in the first place. So we're both from the island of Sal, but we did not interact. Born and raised, I don't remember ever seeing in Maron Sal ever. Probably saw you, but I don't remember.
I remember hearing of you, but I don't remember interacting with you on the apps.
I don't think so, because you're from my younger brother Pedro. You're from his
Right.
generation, so
Right.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't rolling with his friends. He might have been. I'm sure he was rolling with us because we would drag him everywhere we went because he was the youngest. He had no other
Right.
choice,
Right.
right? But yeah. So if anything, it was like, oh yeah, you're my brother's friend, kind of thing. I had in mind. But when we first met, and I love telling the story because I was already at UMass Amherst, and we met at somebody's party. It must have been somebody from Sal or something. It was at some house party, and I'm at some house party, and I'm passing by, and for some reason I heard you say UMass Amherst, and I turned around. I was like, "Did you say UMass Amherst?" Anything to me, UMass Amherst will catch. I'm like a through and through recruiter for UMass Amherst. That's how good of an experience, I had at UMass. And then I remember you mentioned something about UMass Amherst, and I turned around. I was like, "Did you say UMass Amherst?" And somehow we got in that conversation. You said, "Oh, my dream is to go to UMass Amherst. I want to do engineering." And I said, "Whenever you need help, if you ever need help with that, just let me know." And that was that. And we did not, after that, I don't know, how did we exchange contact back then? I really don't recall because it was a different world.
Right.
I don't recall.
Oh,
it was
gosh.
a different world. And then fast forward to, I think I already had finished UMass. I must have finished by then for UMass Amherst, because by the time you got there, I was long gone. That you were your senior year, and you reached out. Somehow we got connected again. I can't remember. I remember us exchanging emails.
Did
and
Facebook
you were
exist back then? I think so, right?
I probably.
Are we like carbon dating ourselves?
For real. I don't even remember. But all I remember is that somehow we got in contact. You missed the opportunity to apply for fall semester after you finished high school. And I told you, but you have spring semester as an option. And you're like, I didn't even know that.
I didn't even
know.
Type
of information that if you don't have in high school, if your guidance counselor is not looking out for you, that's not going to work out. And then I was like, let's get this done. We have time. I'll talk to my mentor, which is Sid Ferreira. I was like, we can figure it out to get you there. And me and you worked on your essay, which I don't remember what was the topic. I think it was about your mom going through something with the health issue. And we talked about that. I was like, this is an intense topic. This is real story right here. I think it was about your mom. We did the essay, we worked on it, and you applied for spring semester. And then you got in.
Yep.
And then after that, I don't know when was the last time we connected again.
Well, I mean, so we met that day at a house party. That's how Cape Verdeans meet each other, especially back in those days. And back in those days, I mean, like early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
6-ish, I think. But yeah, I mean, so I guess just to go right into, because we only have so much time on this podcast, I guess. But just to go right into why I reached out to you to come join me as co-founder. It starts with that, right? With the fact that I guess from a personal standpoint, you've seen my growth trajectory, right? You've helped me a lot. You've mentored. I tell everybody. So Aliyah is like, she's been a mentor, a guardian angel, and now she's my business partner. There you go.
Well, that's the first time I'm hearing that, but yes, nice to hear that.
That's the growth arc of this relationship. But yeah, I mean, it was very clear to me that I could count on you for something like this, because first and foremost, you're all about the culture, you're all about identity, all about the language, right? All of this stuff put together, and of course, you have a pretty strong network. And usually when you're building startups, that's what you want. You either want a mix of, like, depending on the type of company that you're building, you either want a match between someone who's technical and someone who's business oriented, or someone who has the skills to build something and someone who has the network, right? And that's how when I sort of took a step back to think about how to set the foundation for this startup, I immediately thought of you, and I reached out through Messenger on Facebook. Okay, so Facebook did exist back then, obviously. This confirms it.
Must have been.
and and we had I don't know how long that conversation went for, but I think it was pretty quick. I took you from, okay, what is this, to, all right, I'm in. Like it was pretty quick.
It's pretty quick. Is that when you went to my house and my mom made us food and all of that? One of those moments that solidified
No,
all of that. 'Cause I remember.
I think it was through Messenger, and then we exchanged some voice notes, and then you
Okay.
finally replied.
Yeah, I would do that.
Okay,
I've been doing
I'm
voice
in.
notes for a very long time.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that Messenger support.
Yes,
voice
because
notes all the way back
I
then.
like to tell people. Yeah, I like to tell people that I have weakness for good ideas. So when you said it, I was like, duh. I'm like, why would I not jump on something like this, even though I did not anticipate that it was going to get
I know.
this big. And
I know.
you know, because we were like, oh, like you said, I'm all about culture. I speak the language, and you know, being raised in the U.S. at such a young age, I know the importance of retaining the language and
Yeah.
still
Yeah, and I
maintain the
remember
fluency. Yeah.
and I remember telling you the idea about like how we would open up the platform and have people contribute expressions, and I remember you going, "Yeah, Creole te gusta." I was like, exactly. We'll just open up this platform and let people do whatever it is that they want to do with it. And yeah, and like you said, soon enough we started. The more we went into this, the more we realized that there are far bigger problems to solve, and now we're here.
Yeah, and something that's important, because at first we were like, oh, this is, you know, we're going to do this, even though we understand the challenge of the language because of all the variants. Because when we started Creolish, we started even with the letter C, and then, you know, we made the move to the letter K intentionally. But I did not anticipate, and then you can say more, of how much some folks will have resistance, but mainly here in Cape Verde than anything else, about what we are doing in terms of pushing the needle for the language to progress and evolve to a different level. That was one of my first reality checks. I'm like, we're still doing this thing? Like, aren't we over this stuff? But it didn't, like, it felt different, you know, the more we started pushing, especially when I started doing interviews and things like that to get the word out about Creolish, that I was like, oh, wow, we still have a lot of work to do. And then even on the US side, I mean, it's a reality. People from specific islands are there. You and I are from Sal. Like, we were very conscious of what we were doing, and we had to take that approach in a very particular way. In terms of major, you know, assumptions that people would have more of a proactive, you know, excitement to it, even though I did get some surprises, like some folks that I wasn't expecting, especially generational, like much older, saying, hey, you're doing a good, you know, great job. I'm like, okay, so we're not doing that bad in terms of folks.
It's that challenge.
I think on your end.
Yeah, it's that challenge that we've had with, you know, like the generational issue, right? Like today, people are a lot more open to this idea of us, you know, using and leveraging the language even across official and formal settings. But there are people from the generation of like our parents who are still like struggling through this thing, and it has a lot to do with, you know, their whole lives, be it in education or at work, has all taken place on the basis of the Portuguese language, which is the official language, still the only official language of the country. So naturally, there was going to be a bit of resistance there for what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But I think that in general, it all happens on the basis of like lack of awareness or lack of education, you know, because people form these very divisive opinions over this stuff. And I was having this conversation with someone the other day who happens to be from Sal, a good old friend of mine, who I was trying to explain that, you know, for example, that idea that people have that, oh, it's the folks from the South who are trying to impose their language on us.
Creole,
and I'm like, no, that's not what it is. The reason why we feel that pressure is because the folks from the North haven't contributed that much to literature in the language, right? Like most of the material, the literature content in the language is written in Badiou, right? So people have formed a very misguided perception because of that. So, and what I told him is, no, it's not that we should stick with Portuguese because then we don't have to worry about someone trying to impose their language on their Creole on us. It's that maybe we need to contribute more to literature, right? We need to contribute more material so that we can really, all of us can own the representation of our language in its full diversity, in a way that is fair and accurate and true to who we are. So I think that is what we're going to have to deal with for a while. Now, good news is the incoming generation, they're a lot more open, right? As I'm sure you know, you're right there in Praia, you're seeing this through and through, right?
Yeah, it's very different. And I think technology, which is, great that that's the field that we're in, has a lot to do with this. Because I remember,
Mm-hmm.
we started AOL. That's really telling my age. We used to do AOL, and then you had
Remember those
High
CDs?
Five.
Remember those CDs that
Oh
would
my
drop
God.
in your mailbox,
Yes,
like a 90-day
everybody.
trial?
Yes. So, but I think apps, platforms like High Five, MySpace, and especially for the Cabo Verdean community, High Five. And in the US, we had Cabo Verde Online, was one of the
Yeah.
very first, right?
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love Cabo Verde Online and Andy Andrade he's always been a pioneer on so many things, and Cabo Verde
Yeah.
Online was one of them. And that's a place that we actually used to just speak Creole, like Cabo Verde Online, High Five, because you had Cabo Verdens everywhere, right? And I think slowly you started to type, to write in Creole, which was not common because it's such an oral language, right? We sing it, we speak it, and all of that. But putting it in writing was not necessarily a thing until technology came along. And then we all have
Mm-hmm.
to start getting. And I would see the difference. Some people would type, the generation would type in Portuguese, and then you have the younger generation. When I was younger, we would write in type in Creole, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually they all started to type in Creole. Like even now, I see my father, my mom in our group chats, like they're all writing Creole. But I know there's folks who was struggling with it when the whole technology took over in that sense of as a form of communication. Now you have to know how to write. Like you
Yep.
need to know how to communicate, because if you have family in the US or out in Europe or somewhere else who do not speak Portuguese, you're
Exactly.
gonna have to write that in Creole, however way you know how to write it, right? The whole, this is when the alphabet piece comes into place, for a later discussion, maybe for another episode. But that whole technology forced us to start writing in Creole more than anything else. Because
Mm-hmm.
then you have people, oh, but that's not how you write it. So then it's a different kind of fight now. You're writing Creole the wrong way. No, this is how. But it's a good, like, if people get into that argument, that's a good argument to have, like a good fight
Yeah.
to have per se. And I didn't expect that for people to start trying to correct other folks, like this is how you actually spell Creole, which is it's a good thing. And for me, like all the stuff, they came together pretty fast, because
Mm-hmm.
from 2019 we started right before the pandemic. We did a few things online, and then next thing you know, we're now we're taking it to a different level where we started, we had to bring in team members into it. And that's the other part I wanted us to really touch upon, because we are where we at right now because the rest of the team that's part of it.
Yeah.
And obviously, you actually thinking from the founder's CEO perspective.
She got it right.
Got it right.
Oh yeah.
Yay. That we started thinking about where does the team come together. You're the tech guy, engineer, as I like to call you and my sisters, and I'm the cultural, geek. I'll geek out on anything that has to do with culture and history. And we always talk about how we complement each other in that
Yeah.
sense. But so bringing a team together, especially on the tech side, is important. Being a tech company, you need that part. And I wanted to touch on when did you really realize, like, okay, I really need to build a tech team, because that's another reality check for Creolish. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
we're going to move fast, because we noticed that people started asking for, how do you say this word and that word, we introduced translation, and it started picking up faster
Yep.
than we thought. I honestly thought translation requests came, the demand for it was way faster than I was anticipating, and that obviously demanded a different kind of push for a tech team.
Totally. Yeah. Once we launched translations, that validated what we suspected, right? That people are looking for translation services, and in this era of technology that we're in, it made a lot of sense for us to just give you a search box, just like Google, right? You just type something into it and you get answers right away, right? You don't have to. Obviously, I'm a big book reader. I love reading books. I have a whole mini library here in my place. But the thing about books is you have to scroll, you have to flip through those pages before you can find something, right? And in this era that we're in, it's all about getting answers fast because we're trying to move fast because, hey, I don't know, it's the economic system that we live in, I guess, right? um, but yeah, once we launched translations, that became the most used feature on the site, and to this day, and it's growing, right? Whenever someone becomes aware of Creolish, it's all about translations. And funny enough, we're seeing, because we have the ability to see queries that are coming in, right? Because we do some sort of like proactive analysis ahead of time to sort of like analyze user behavior on the site and then make choices ahead of time for them. We've seen, for example, queries like that came in saying something about, your blood counts are normal. So that's what I was like, wait a minute. So it sounds like there's people in hospitals or in healthcare in general,
looking for something,
looking for translation. So all of this is like, it just keeps increasing the scope of the problem that we have to solve here. But going back to your question about the importance of building a tech team, look, I have a tech background, but I can't build it alone. Okay, I was able to build something over a few weekends, like really quick, just put it out there and see what people make with it. But eventually, what you start seeing is, the biggest challenge is not really building features or building a product. It's going to be scale, right? Meeting the scaling demand, and so that is where building a tech team, a dedicated tech team, is going to be important. And engineering has many fields. There's the back end, there's the front end, there's infrastructure, there's the UI, there's the UX. There's so much that comes into play. There are so many moving parts that it's impossible for only one person to do it. So that is seeing how the potential for growth that we have here. That is what told me, okay, Edmar, you need to go out there and start bringing people with technical expertise into the team and start building this team, building a strong technical team so that we can sustain the demand that we've been seeing keeps growing. And it's only a matter of time until, every startup goes through this phase, right? They hit something and then there's just explosion in like demand, right? So those are exciting times, but they're also very stressful, right? Very emotionally, physically, mentally, whateverly demanding. So that is what I keep thinking about is ahead of time, is how do I build a team here that's going to be able to sustain whatever we have coming our way.
Yeah, because the challenge of, one, we're all remote. You're out in Brockton, I'm in Praia. We have somebody in London. We have somebody in São Vicente. We have somebody in Rhode Island / New Bedford now. We have someone in Boston.
Yeah, we don't have a physical office. Our office is
online. We had someone in California. Now he's back to East Coast. So, and you all will get the opportunity to meet all of them, and they'll introduce themselves and all that good stuff. And the remote part, I think, is our biggest challenge. And that's something that we're also going to talk about later on. What does this all mean for a startup to be this level of remote? And there's a lot of interesting stories that comes with it. But it's important, like, to have a team that you can rely on. And there so many of everybody's talented. Yeah. From design, products to all of that, and helping thinking
and look, we've available. Just so you see the level of intentionality that we have here, we've recently added a linguist to the team, because this is how thorough we're going to have to be as we move forward. Is we really need subject matter experts.
Experts, yes, because people will ask, like, okay, you're the engineer, and she's all into culture but I want to know who knows how to teach for real. Like, if we're gonna push out certain products, and that was an important part. And he's from UMass Amherst. UMass Amherst needs to call us for an alumni.
I know.
An alumni get. I should bring this up to Sid. That would be
Yeah,
a very nice.
he should be sending us interns every summer. Actually, let's talk
If
to
I
him about
ask
that.
him, he'll look for it. Yes, we should. We should do that. One thing I wanted to say, one of my favorite things that I saw when people started putting when we put out translation, somebody wrote, "Go to bed." How do you like literally a full sentence? Go to bed. And I'm like, oh, this must be a parent really trying to get their kid to go to bed, or somebody's kid that they need to translate this thing in Creole.
Yep.
And it was like a few of those requests that we can tell, like if it's coming from either parent or an educator, and if it's from a health person, is for somebody who just feels like they're gonna ask us. And we've had some very interesting other requests, and we could talk about that another day.
Yes,
One
those-
time that we
yep.
were like, oh my God, what is this? But that's just to show that you have curiosity out there. Like people do want to know and they do want to learn. And
yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to handle translation of curse words. This is delicate.
Yes.
Because we get those requests. We'll get there.
We get those. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out eventually.
Hey, it's part of language. This again.
No,
talk about intentionality. It's part of language, and we have to give people what they want.
We just have to figure out how to deal with it. We just have to figure out how to deal with it. The other important thing that I really wanted us to address here during this first episode is the fact Cavite just turned 50, right? 50 years of independence. And obviously, it's a reminder that we're a very young nation. Mm-hmm. I'm always talking about how we put a lot of pressure for all of Cavite, right? The people, the government, we demand a lot. And I think that sometimes we do forget that we're this young. July 5th, 1975. Like, this is a very young nation. We have a lot to do. A lot of things need to happen. And the language is a big part of this process, right? And I do think the incoming generation will change a lot of this. I'm not even worried about it. I am a true believer. And sometimes we do think, I think that we do take Creole for granted because we live it and breathe it and sing it. It's part of our culture. Like our music is all in Creole, right? We don't sing in Portuguese. It was never a thing.
Which is an amazing thing.
It was never a thing.
This
is amazing.
Why I say, this is why I think that you have to, this is where we have to appreciate our artists. They're the main carriers of the language, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's music, it's through culture that the language has survived. And a lot of folks do not know this, but in 1920, Creole was forbidden. Like literally official bulletin, not allowed in school settings, not allowed in social settings, like it was not allowed. It was like a whole law behind it. The Portuguese governor at the time that, put it out, but it still survived. No, this was already 1920s. Like, we had been around for way longer than that, but it did not stop Cabo Verdeans from if anything, It probably cemented a lot more cultural manifestation, particularly through music. And sometimes that's what I use as a way to get people to disconnect from this whole I'm from this island or that island, or the variation, like you're saying, the northern and the south kind of stuff, is because like you listen to everything. If I ask you right now to name me your favorite artist, they're all going to reflect from all over.
Right.
So if you are so receptive to that, because obviously it's part of who you are in your language, why wouldn't you be receptive to the language for what it is as a spoken official language kind of thing?
Yeah.
And I think it's conversations that we need to have. And I do feel that our generation, because we have that clarity, because we were truly born independent, that we should be carrying this conversation and just keep pushing it. And then the next generation will take it to where it needs to be. But we need to make that road that is beyond cultural, that is beyond the music part. And for us celebrating the 50th, and that's why we were like, we got to get this episode out, just to make sure that we highlight the importance that the next 50 years is really going to matter where Cavite goes, and the language is going to be a big part of it, because you need accessibility.
So. It needs to be, yeah.
It needs to be, because it's part of your accessibility. Like from your language, you can access other things. And we've talked about this before, especially I've done interviews, you've done programs out in the East, in Boston, in Brockton, and other places, how here in Cavite, English teachers are using Creolish to help their students learn English faster, because they're not going from Portuguese to Creole to English to get to English. They're skipping Portuguese altogether to get to Creole. Nothing wrong with Portuguese. It's a foreign language, but we have to know how to look at it as such and understand where is the student's learning is at. It's with Creole, right? So how do we make sure that that's where it's at? And we're happy that English teachers here in Cape Verde. In Cape Verde, not even English teachers in English language learning programs out in the US, but here in Cape Verde are using Criollish to get our resources to teach their students English through Creole. And for us and for me, that's where the next 50 years, part of it, we got more, but part of it is like, how do we keep pushing and giving resources to whoever needs it for building the next generation that's coming up.
Yeah, I think the way you put it is actually exactly where I was going to take it. Is, you know, what we're doing here really is equipping, just like you said. We just want to give the next generation the tools that they need to conduct whatever aspect of their lives in their language that they feel most comfortable in their language of their choice. And most of the time, it's probably going to be Creole, right? You want to learn English, learn it in Creole. You want to learn math, learn it through Creole. And guess what? You'll probably get better results because there's been studies. There was a study that was conducted by Donna Ana Josefa Cardoso, who I talk to all the time. She's an amazing lady. And the work that she has done for the language is just incredible. And she did this study herself. They conducted a study back on the islands where they took a group of students whom were taught in Portuguese, and then they mobilized another group of students who were taught in Creole. What they realized is that the students who were taught in Creole, like I think it was like first grade, they came out of the first grade with better writing and reading skills than the ones who were taught in Portuguese. So there you have it. This is why it's so important to bet on your language. It's your language for a reason. And part of the work that we're doing here is precisely to take a more technological approach to removing these linguistic barriers that we have right now in the country called, in my opinion, Portuguese, right? And just allow people to just have one less thing to worry about before they can learn and acquire skills and secure opportunities to secure quality of life, right? Imagine that. You don't have to worry about Portuguese. You don't have to worry about speaking Portuguese correctly. You don't have to worry about sounding like you're from Lisbon. You just have to worry about learning the thing that you need to learn, or consuming the information, the content, the knowledge and the wisdom that you need for you to go do your next best thing, the next best thing that'll push your life forward. And this is what is at stake for me. It's happiness, you know, freedom to pursue, not to just survive, but to thrive, right? So that is, and it also goes back to this idea of a multilingual internet, right? Like there are billions of people online today, and internet connectivity is now considered a human right. But the problem is that half of the content on the internet is in English, and then the rest is spread across Portuguese, Spanish, French, whatever. So now the question is, okay, it's like, okay, connectivity is a human right, but what meaning does this connectivity have if it doesn't speak my language? If I don't understand what it means? It's like, oh, okay, you have the right to internet, but here's a catch: you need to learn English. How does that work? You're literally disenfranchising millions upon millions of people from access to internet because of that precisely. So that is another big topic of discussion that we will bring up in another episode. But again, part of the work that we're doing here is building the digital infrastructure that will allow the language to not only be represented and preserved, but that will give people an entry point into a global market, a global economy, right? A global base of knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, and before we go into the last piece of our discussion, I'm a testament of how if you teach through Creole, you can learn. When I went to the US, I was 12 years old, went to Dearborn Middle School. All my teachers, bilingual program at the time, they were all Creole from different islands, some Tontão, some Vicente, Fogo, some from Brava descendants. And that's how I learned English. It was through Creole. And I didn't even realize that was even possible until I got there, because that's not what we did in Cape Verde, right? So I learned English through Creole. And I still remember Mr. Almeida one day said, "Sit your chair on the chair," because chair. chair in Creole is cadeira. So sentava cadeira na cadeira. It
Oh
was
my
like a whole,
God.
and I was like, but he was funny like that, right? So, and I started loving learning as well. So you had all these teachers there who were big in teaching us through Creole, even though I was from Sal. Our biggest challenge is whenever they sent communications home, the communications were in Creole from Fogo mainly, or Santiago at the time. We were struggling with it because we weren't used to reading it. But that aside, in the classrooms, I learned English. I did 2 years of middle school and bilingual. Even within bilingual, you could move in terms of levels. By the time I got to high school, I was in what they call at the time mainstream. I went straight into English. It's like there is no need. I was good enough, and you can only
Look
get
at that.
better for that.
Hmm.
But it's for me, the bilingual program really was a true testament if you use it the right way, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible. We've seen it work outside of Cabo Verde, how using Creole, you can learn the language faster. Even if you want to get really good in Portuguese, you can teach it to Creole. Just
Exactly.
like I used
No.
to love French. By the time I was in fifth grade, I was speaking French. I used to love French. So in Cabo Verde, we learned French, English at a very young age. Learning languages is not a problem for us.
Right.
We're open to it because we need it, right? Because eventually we got to deal with, as a nation, we got to deal with all these different types of folks who support the country. We're open to other languages. It's just that it's ideal to access those languages through our language. And the last
Well,
piece for me
not
on
just.
this
Yeah,
is
sorry. Go ahead.
real quick. No, it's someone one day said, "You will know which language you think or you were raised with, or it resonates with you the most when you realize which language do you count your numbers in."
Mm.
So
Hmm.
I am often catching myself going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like the basics, right? The 1, 2,
Yeah.
3s, the months of the year, like especially counting. When I'm counting, if I'm focused, it's gonna come out in Creole, and
Yep.
almost always, if the next language that's coming out is in English. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense to me because of the age I left, right? That I went to the US. But Creole is the first language that comes to mind. When I'm counting, I count in Creole. I don't count in
Yep.
Portuguese.
No, it's
So
fine.
it's
It's
very
funny you say that.
interesting.
It's funny you say that because me, for some reason, by the time I get to 20, I need to count in Creole because I'm gonna mess something up. I'm gonna start skipping numbers if I keep counting in English. It's so
English.
funny how it works. Yeah, it's so funny.
That is very interesting.
But,
I never even thought about that, but yeah.
yeah. No. It's funny that you. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one. You know what
You're
I'm
not the
saying?
only one. Oh, this should be a
'Cause I
topic of
started
discussion.
thinking, because I honestly started thinking that something was wrong with me. Like, how is it that every time I get to 20, I need to switch to Creole? It's so
That
weird.
is so funny. Oh,
But yeah, you're right on the money there. Like, our goal is not to make it so you abandon Portuguese. No. There's a lot of benefits in speaking multiple languages, right? The goal that we have, right? Basically, the mission that we're working towards is, hey, you shouldn't have to learn someone else's language just so you can learn the next thing that you need to learn, right? That's
yes.
all we're saying. That's all we're saying, and the results are there to show it. It's a barrier that I think is unfair because, first and foremost, like I always say, the indigenous people of the world didn't just wake up on a sunny Sunday and decided they were just going to learn English and Portuguese and Spanish and French. That's not how it went down, right? So being aware of all that's been said and done, there's a lot packed into this. What we're doing is called, we are exercising our cultural responsibility. And the outcome is going to be cultural justice, right? This is how far-reaching the work that we're doing here.
And I'm a true believer we're gonna do a lot of great things coming up. We can't cover it all, obviously, within this episode. We're gonna have a lot, other colleagues come in, other topics that we're going to address. We wanted to at least have everybody hear how we got here, how Creolish got here.
Well, how it started. How it started.
Well,
There's a lot to talk about as far as how we got here.
How we got here? Yeah, how we got here today, into where we at right now. Yes, how it started.
Okay.
Why are we at where we at right now? In terms of
it's like first there was the Big Bang, and then no, I'm just kidding.
So for just real quick, what's coming up? Like we're always cooking something. This podcast was one of them. I'm excited for the other episodes that we're exploring right now. But I especially like to hear where your mind is at the geek level of engineering stuff.
I used to feel some type of way. I used to feel some type of way when people called me a nerd and a geek, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start
Oh, you gotta
carrying
own
this
it.
as a badge of honor. Yeah, exactly.
You should.
Exactly.
I was a little bit of a nerd for 1 year while I did computer science at UMass Amherst. So I
Then
was
what happened?
and then I was too much of a outgoing talkative person. I was like, I can't be in front of a computer all week just coding. That's not gonna work for me.
Well,
That's
lucky
not gonna
enough,
work
you
for me.
have two sisters and a business partner to take care of that
I
side for
know.
you.
I
You
can
can do
never
all
get
the
away.
talking you want.
I can never get away with this. I know. I'm an engineer by association. That's what I tell people,
Right.
and
There
it's
you
very
go.
true. But yeah, so what are you looking forward to? What we got next coming up from people? Just a little something, something.
Yeah. So just a little something, something. We are looking forward to full automatic translations, speech recognition, speech synthesis. Hopefully, one day we will give you something that kind of resonates, like a Chat GPT-ish type of deal, right? And then also outside of that, we're also focused on building a tech platform, right? Just like any other platform out there that you usually log into to take courses online. This is where we're headed, and there's a lot to talk about here. We'll just save it for future episode. Yep.
Yes.
You're gonna have to. That's how this goes. Everybody, you have to tune
Yes,
in.
you're gonna have to tune in
Yes,
whether you
we're-
want to or not.
we're
if
not
you want to
just
get all
gonna-
the juicy stuff.
We're not just gonna hand over all our jewels in like the first episode, because it's like then the podcast is done. Then the season is over.
Yeah, and as much as I talk, yes, we could sit here for 2 hours easy, but we're not gonna
Yep.
do that. We're not gonna do that.
Not today. It's Saturday.
Not
It's sunny
today.
out. So,
Yes,
you know,
not today.
As much
My
as I would
husband
love to be here,
and my
I
kids
have-
need to come back.
Right. Cool.
But yeah, so thank you for this. This was a nice chat. We're gonna have a lot more of these coming up. And to our listeners, thank you for making the time.
Mhm.
Wherever you're gonna catch this episode, leave us comments, send us message. Make sure you visit our website if you haven't, creolish.com. Follow us on social media platforms. You have a lot of ways to get in touch with us. We're gonna come back to you asking for opinions. So we're gonna be out here really engaging with everybody, and so that we can take Creolish to the next step.
Yep. And by the way, we have a thriving community on WhatsApp. You
Yes.
guys, if you want to join that, that'll be great, because there's a lot of great discussions with people from all over the world.
Yes, all
it's
over
been-
the world.
it's
For
been a
real,
good
it's
time.
really all over the world. Yes.
Yeah,
And
it's been
then
a
we're
good time.
open to ideas for episodes. If there's anything in particular that you would like for us to talk about, we're open to ideas. We're always open to ideas because we serve you, and we're always listening to you, so that we know that what we're doing is the thing that you're looking for. So thank you once again for listening to Creolish first episode.
All right.
Until
Thank
next
you,
time.
Swelly. This was awesome. We did it.
This
We
was
did
awesome.
a podcast. Dope.
Yes. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Peace out.
Peace.